Okay, welcome back to D&D. So, last time you guys played, you finished up the fight with the Marrow, and you were able to kill the majority of them and destroy the crab. And you were, due to a bit of strategic use of spells, able to prevent the queen from being assassinated. You were then kind of made heroes of the Coral Kingdom, which allowed you to basically go around and party and be congratulated by a bunch of people, as well as get a number of different treats that were basically these kind of like jelly alcohol shots that you proceeded to eat a vast quantity of.
Tide Pod for Locos.
Exactly. You know,
Wow.
I said I was going to give you an inspiration for that, so yes, go ahead and add that inspiration.
Yay.
Um, let's see here. So then you went to in essence an undersea vineyard and learned how they were made. And Otto would like to have Jackson go ahead and establish supply lines to, in essence, supply his tavern with these kind of alcoholic jelly treats. So, you've also been reminded that there is the murder you're investigating,
Oh yeah.
and you have been told that you will be taken down to the area where the pirate captain who left all the clues you're after was said to be
Wow.
going. But they need a couple of days to set that up for you. So we leave you off having just left the vineyard rather well oiled, I suppose, on the treats they've been giving you.
I am out of spells and feeling good.
Starting to
Relatively
like the
fresh.
ocean, Graham.
No.
Says a very drunk piffle. Enough of these things.
Humble
I don't
something.
forget it's made of water.
Oh, yeah, we should probably drink some water so we don't get hungover. I have water.
Make a nature check.
Hmm?
Yeah, Graham, this water's fine. Go ahead.
Oh,
It's very
well, for
salty. Very salty water. All right. What is everybody else doing? Graham and Fiffle are having drunken revelry. What's Jackie doing? Especially as a drunk monk.
Jackie's gonna go try to take a nap. Actually,
Okay.
where are we right now?
You were just outside of the name doesn't translate, but you identify it as being something akin to a vineyard. So you were just outside of that area.
Yeah,
Mirtha's
we
vineyard.
need to get Matt his spell slots back.
Yeah, I should probably take a nap, especially so we don't like run out of water breathing in the middle of it.
It's
Like,
24 hours, isn't it?
Oh, are we still underwater?
Yeah.
yep.
Oh my.
Speaking of, what is Fern up to?
Um, I don't know.
Did Fern partake of the alcohol jelly treats?
Yeah, I think everybody was drunk except for
Me.
Otto, actually.
I crit my constitution check on alcohol.
Ah, yes, of course. So then we will turn to Otto. Otto, you have a bunch of your party members
Perfect.
rather wasted. You're the only one who has been kind of nursing your treats. What do you do?
I let them continue to revel because they deserve it.
Oh,
I just make sure they don't get into trouble within
oh,
reason.
oh.
All right.
Do with that information as you will, Mr. DM.
Well, most people in the city have already heard of your exploits and are rather appreciative of your actions, meaning that most people are less inclined to start trouble with you despite your kind of drunken antics and are more willing to, if not enjoy the celebrations with you, at least give you a bit of a leeway there. So most of it is spent with just people kind of giving you like pats on the back.
Hooray. You deserve pats on the back.
Hey,
I guess we should get some sleep and then resume the investigation.
yeah, we need to find like some accommodations somewhere, which I'm sure are going to be free.
We're good on that, I think. I think they set us up with one of their dry rooms.
I believe that's right.
Okay. So you're heading back to the palace to the dry rooms?
Whenever they're done.
Sure.
Whenever they're done reveling.
Rejoice!
Well, how long do you all revel for? You've been doing it for a couple hours at this point.
7 days and nights.
You know, when they lose their energy, I'll just start herding them toward the dry room.
Graham is slowly becoming liquid.
Okay.
I think you can control water.
Well, then we'll say, like, you party long into the night, at which point Otto is able to then take you back to the palace and lead you all into the dry rooms, where you are greeted with fresh air and hammocks and places where you can, like, you see towels where you can actually dry off with.
Actually,
Awful.
And yeah, this area you're in, you can see that it actually does have like wooden doors, and it forms a kind of bubble structure. As it has this dry area has different rooms where you can all kind of get a individual place to sleep. The rooms themselves are not tremendously large, but you can see that each of them all has different kinds of plants in them. You can identify these as plants that don't actually require sunlight to thrive.
Graham mutters something about like the beauty of life, but it's completely incoherent.
All right. So from there, you're all taking a long rest.
Seems like the thing to do.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
yes.
Well then, you all take a long rest. You awaken at some point 8 hours in the future. Everybody except for Graham has a rather splitting headache. Or everybody except Otto has a rather splitting headache. I'm sorry.
Ah, yes.
I knew he was immune to alcohol, but he was that immune?
I'm partied like that.
This time he is. Knew it was natural. He always had that behavior.
All right. So yes, you all awaken.
Yes.
We long rested.
You long rested, yes.
Long rested.
Killer.
Let's go break our fast.
Yeah, we should get something a little hearty.
Fern will do water breathing before we leave the dry rooms.
Ooh, that's smart.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We
thank
don't
you for
drown.
We were,
letting us
we
not
were
die.
about to drown. No, we were
Like
definitely
about to walk out.
I'm about to walk out the door. I'm like, wait.
Mm.
These things happen. Should we go over what we know about the investigation at this point? Do we remember?
Mm.
Good idea.
It
Did
is.
we ask them about the subject matter of the stolen painting?
I think that's what we were working on. Well, we have the pair of the blade. We know we can locate object on the other one. We're sure that Libby gave the information to the thieves, and that's how they knew that that's the clue. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything.
If you have any questions to direct at me, just let me know. Otherwise, you can converse among yourselves to attempt to put these clues together.
We know they were paired paintings. which is how we managed to stumble onto the assassination in time. Hmm.
Did we ever get a chance to go look at the painting again, or was it gone? The the paired one that was in the palace.
I remember we asked about it, but I don't recall fully.
To answer that question, you did see the painting again. You asked about it, but it did not have any clues concerning both the clues to the next treasure location or to the subject matter of the paired painting was alluded to on the actual information plaque below the painting itself.
And the plaque is still there, right? And we looked at it. Or I can't remember if we looked at it.
Yes, the painting in the palace, you both were able to view it, and you looked at the plaque that gave the description. And if you'd like, I can actually read that again.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
All right, let's see here.
I think it was like the king driving the marrow in such a way. Or am I misremembering?
You're somewhat close. Let me just find out. Where? Let me just go find the actual information among all this here. Here we are. Yes, so on the painting itself, there's the Elven King. He is wearing a crown that is a simple circlet with a diamond in the center. And as well, you see a number of figures that are standing before their king, but you see that black paint has been spread out on their faces. The title of the painting is called The Exiles Are Cast Out. And the one thing you noticed was that one of the figures with the blacked out faces in the painting is holding a sword identical to Valor's Edge.
Ah, right.
That's right.
It's Kaido that did it.
Sea elves, perhaps?
Uh,
Because I believe we knew Valor's Edge was made by elves, right?
Yep. The
it just
elves.
explain sea elves.
The very first people you met part of the Coral Kingdom were a group of sea elves who described having arrived many centuries ago and having been invited to live among the Coral Kingdom.
We know that Valor's Edge was made by elves, but we don't know specifically what kind of elves, right? So sea elves would be on the table.
And the paired blades are from that nation that is
Zodoran, I believe.
Zedorans. So we should ask about their history with the Zedorans. I think.
Okay.
Do some fact finding that in that direction, I guess.
Sure. All right. Well, you know where these sea elves are.
It's true. We could go ask them.
Okay. Is that what you'd like to do?
Yeah.
While we're down here, can we kind of get a temperature on how the merfolk feel about the sea elves?
Yes. How would you like to go about finding that information?
Hmm.
On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your racism.
11. Maybe ask some of the head of the guards or whomever. And just explain that we're investigating the possible link of the painting, and ask about the story of the exiles being cast out, and then segue into the sea elves.
Sure. Go ahead and give me a investigation roll. Because the group is working together, just do so at advantage.
Yay.
And depending on how well you do, I will provide a specific amount of information.
24.
Well, that's pretty good. Okay. Speaking with a number of the guards, as well as some of the various dignitaries and kind of the heads of the different sections of the palace, you're able to get a pretty good overview of how the sea elves work in the kingdom itself, as well as you end up being put in touch with a palace historian.
Ooh, perfect.
So the breakdown, before even talking to the historian, is that the sea elves had arrived several millennia ago, having gone to escape some sort of a cataclysm. They were able to act as negotiators between the merfolk and the Triton and put a rest to the actual feud between the two, and were then able to teach the merfolk some rather advanced magic. From there, they were invited down and eventually used magic to transform themselves to eventually to be able to survive under the ocean and become integrated into the Coral Kingdom entirely.
Cool.
Fancy elves.
So
Bit Dan.
based off of that,
Fancy.
I think their relationship is just fine.
Seems like. How about the ones who were exiled? What do we know about those?
Make a history check at disadvantage.
Okay.
My goodness.
I think he
Well,
wants a 27.
okay. Goodness gracious. That was 16. Okay. This information is a lot more difficult to find. So, even with a 27, this is about the best you can find out was that many thousands of years ago there was an elven kingdom. Um, the elven king had some sort of magic that allowed him to maintain his immortality without having to become like a lich or do anything that would be considered some sort of alteration to the form. The exiles you're not really sure about, but based on the information that you did see both at the painting in the palace and the information plaque at the art museum, you can determine that the exiles were members of the Teldren, who were the kind of bodyguards and advisors of the king.
Okay.
They would be described as battle mages and dragon riders as well.
Dragon Riders.
Who has?
The exiled guards of the king that were the subject of that painting where they were cast out.
Exiled guards of the king of the sea elves.
Not necessarily, but we did notice that they had a blade identical to Valor's Edge. I wonder if it actually is Valor's Edge in that painting.
Making sure I'm
Probably.
connecting the dots here.
Is there anything about Valor's Edge we can find here?
The actual historical records looking through are scarce in terms of that regard. A lot of the information has just been lost over the thousands of years that have passed in between. So where that 27 was fantastic, it's just the historical records are really limited in that regard.
Makes sense. What do you mean I can't solve the mystery with one dice roll?
The
Baby.
the circlet that the king is wearing in the painting, does it seem familiar? Have we seen it before?
Make an intelligence roll.
Good idea.
This would be Fern who had the idea, so.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, there's something at the back of your mind, but for the life of you, you just can't put it together right now. Maybe if you think about it for like a day or two.
Can I
Should bring that up to us.
share with the group?
This is due to a larger mystery, so I would say you're just kind of mulling it over at this point.
Okay.
But if you can bring it up a little bit later in the future.
Okay.
I'm thinking. What's that thing? Who's that wizard? Wasn't there a wizard that wanted a crown or something?
That's what I'm kind of remembering, I think. But
I was
anyway,
just trying to think. I don't know if it was the same one or not, but I was just like, wait.
it
I don't
was it was
It was
I can't even really remember, but
I'd
it
have to
was
look. I have to look at the info. I have it. I just gotta.
the character in question is on the resource sheet you created.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely in there. It's just I gotta get to it.
You know I can't read.
I don't know how to read. What the hell are you talking about? I'm American. Let me see.
Yeah, it's gonna work. See.
Did we find out everything we could about the sea elves from the
Well, you put in touch with the
archive
historian, but
yesterday? Oh, okay.
you haven't spoken to him just yet.
Oh, okay. We need to go talk to the historian.
That seems like an idea.
Okay. The historian you find is actually a Triton man. You can see he's older. He has kind of like the white beard. He's wearing a fine robe that has been woven from seaweed. You can see he's actually in a dry room in an area where there's actual written books and not just the kind of carved tablets that they use. He's hunched over a table with a bunch of scrolls all around him. As he sees you approach, he kind of adjusts some glasses and he's, heroes of the Coral Kingdom, come in. How can I help you?
Good morning to you. I think it's morning.
It's lunchtime, actually, but yes.
Yeah. We're trying to piece together some stuff about the museum murder that happened yesterday before the attack on the palace.
Yes, that's unfortunate. The curator was actually an associate of mine. We had been in the same kind of business together of piecing together information.
You reckon maybe he stumbled onto something and they wanted it kept secret?
More likely, he interrupted some thieves while they were stealing something from the museum.
You reckon you could tell us much about the painting in the hall and the paired one in the museum?
Ah, well, I haven't seen the paired one in quite a while, but I do see the one in the palace hall quite a bit. So that one was actually brought to us many thousands of years ago, about 3,000 years ago, by the members of the elven delegation who eventually joined us and used magic to turn themselves into sea elves. My understanding is they were escaping some sort of cataclysm upon some landmass. Didn't come to affect us, so we weren't able to get a great idea. And the survivors themselves came from the outlying area rather than the kingdom center, meaning that their actual information about the cataclysm was a bit more limited. But they brought us a number of different items, including that painting. As you can see, it looks brand new, has suffered zero wear. We believe that the inks and paints used were magically treated in some way. Even underwater, it has suffered no problem whatsoever.
Was it blacked out, the faces, when you got it?
Yes, it was. My understanding was the piece was initially commissioned and completed, and then due to the exile of the painting subjects in question, their faces were painted over afterwards. Hence the name, the exiles are cast out. But my understanding is that the actual accompanying piece at the museum is in a slightly older piece before their exile, which would actually display their faces.
That's interesting.
Last I saw it was several years ago. Unfortunately, I don't get down to the art museum too often these days.
I think he knows more than he's letting on here.
Yeah, I was gonna see if I could roll insight.
Sure, go ahead.
Should.
16.
Graham, you kind of get the feeling he feels maybe a bit guilty over the fact that he hasn't gone to the art museum in a few years. Otto, you get the feeling maybe he feels a little bit guilty because he hasn't been to the art museum in a few years and he hasn't seen his friend, the curator, in a while. And now he's dead, so he can't see him ever again.
So they don't detect any ill motives.
You do not detect ill motive from him.
Okay. You guys rolled good enough, I think.
Just an FYI, Otto's thinking about that wizard and I put his name. I remembered his name.
Barbaros.
Remember, air quotes. That he wanted a magical elven crown.
Who was the king in the hall painting?
So the king. This is actually a rather interesting thing. The king had no real title. In fact, the elven word for king is his name. So whenever anybody uses the elven word king, it would just be referring to that one specific ruler. Uh, Obviously, his influence has spread down throughout the years since then.
Must have had quite a reign then.
What?
The elven kingdoms, as far as I can tell, stretch back quite a while. They were utilizing magical steel even before other people were able to successfully utilize bronze. Um, as for where his training came from, how he was able to utilize his knowledge, that one has been lost to history at this time. Unfortunately, archaeological excavations for us are more difficult, as one can tell. Although we do send every once in a while a member of our city to one of the mainland's universities for study.
Always a good idea. How
Yeah.
about the? Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was gonna. Well, I'll ask after you're done, but I was gonna ask is like that crown. Is there anything special about it? We've heard some magically inclined individuals were inquiring about it.
My understanding is the crown was magic in some nature. What its actual magical properties were, I could not say for sure. Simply that it was the crown that the king wore. He was a powerful wizard, so probably he had some sort of enchantments upon it.
Out of character, was Barbarossa an elf? Also, I can't recall. I think he was.
He was an elf, yes.
Okay,
Or is an elf. He's not dead.
he's a long living elf.
That's their secret. How about your relationships with some of the nations up on the surface, like the Sartosans?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Asking about like their history and relationships with some of the surface kingdoms.
Ah,
Thinking about that unpaired blade.
for the Zidorans, yeah.
Zidorans, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
No, no worries. Okay. We don't get a tremendous amount of kind of connection between our kingdoms. We are close to the landmass known as Viderheim, but because we are underwater, we don't have a tremendous amount we can offer to the surface dwellers. Surface dwellers have some stuff that they can offer us. We have a limited amount of trade, but for the most part, we have a tough time staying on land. Not me, of course, I have legs, but our merfolk, especially the queen, would not do well on land itself. The Viderheim surface dwellers cannot breathe underwater, so for the most part, we stay separated from one another, using the sea elves as a go-between, as they are able to both breathe air and water and can stand upon the surface and connect with their land cousins.
Sounds like we might want to have a word with them next.
I certainly could. I know many of the sea elves here are relatively young, none older than 300 years old, I'm assuming. I know surface elves can live for a very long amount of time, but fortunately down here it can get a little dangerous every once in a while.
As above, so below.
Hmm.
Who would we want to talk to who would take point in discussing stuff up there?
Oh, well, if you we have a kind of sunken tower that rests just below the surface. The sea elves generally do business there. It is a trade outpost, a store where we keep a variety of objects that we would like to trade with. Once people want to stop by, they just drop anchor. The sea elves make contact with them, and they come to an arrangement. There's even dry rooms there if people wish to swim down and do business in a kind of undersea area where they can get a look at our various wares.
Might be worth a look.
Hmm.
Hmm. What do you remember about the paired painting? I know it's been a while.
Oh, my understanding was the painting in the palace shows a very little amount of the actual exiles. Um, the painting in the actual museum had vastly more detail, if I remember correctly. Um, you noticed that there was a rather fancy sword that one of the people, the subject, was holding. Um, there are more swords in the actual museum painting that was stolen, as well as the
Yeah, something.
dragons
What do you have?
that the exiled elves would ride.
That sword looked kind of very elegant. Uh, Normally, something that exquisite gets a name. Do you know if they name their swords?
That I am not sure about. Unfortunately, the information of that did not pass here.
You
I
happen to remember if there was a big red dragon in that painting?
Oh, yes, I believe so. It was a rather striking creature. I think that's correct. Big, however, I'm not sure how big you would say. I've never seen a dragon myself.
it
Would
could
you
have
say
been
it
a
was about the
whelp
size of a
dragon.
whale?
Uh, how big was that dragon? If we can recollect it.
I can't remember. Also, possible it was artistic license to the size.
Could also be if it's 3,000 years old
No, I mean for us, do we remember we saw the dragon with Sharp?
with sharp.
Do we remember how big it was?
It was really big.
And he said bigger than a whale, I assume.
He was trying to ascertain the size by comparing it to a whale.
So okay. No, I'm just trying to see if like when that picture was painted, if the dragon was, say, a whelp.
I could not remember the size of the dragon itself. Just that it was a very striking red color.
Would you say it was a juvenile in your opinion of that in that image?
Uh, Possibly, maybe something of the young variety. Although I'm basing a lot of my information on what I read in books. Like I said, I've never seen a dragon. Although we do actually have every once in a while people spot dragons that can actually go underwater, but most dragons are rather rare these days.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fun to theorycraft.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Trying to think of what else we could ask.
Well, I'm always here. So, and my understanding is you have free reign of the palace after saving the queen. So, if you have any further questions, please let me know.
I might at that. Thank you kindly.
You're quite welcome.
All
If
right, I guess let's go see the
Actually, I'm
seals.
gonna ask if he's very historical. Wouldn't getting him in touch with brain farting our guy, our crossfades guy. I'm brain farting his
Carter Webb.
name. Yes, like maybe if they correspond, the two of them could like fill in the blanks.
Uh,
Carter Webb's been around for like
Carter
not
Webb's in his he's like 85.
yeah, but he knew the older crossfades that might have given him more knowledge too that he could share with
Actually,
us.
even outside of this investigation, they might have records on the crossblades, just
Yeah.
purely as an interesting historical thing.
Yeah, I was thinking of like getting them to collaborate, maybe like hammer out
Something to
historical inaccuracies.
Are you asking him about the crossblades?
seems like a thing to do.
Yeah, and then we can mention Carter Webb.
You just immediately like, oh, those some bitches.
Let's see here. He kind of goes over to a bookshelf and he kind of rifles through and he looks and he pulls a book off the shelf and he puts it on the desk and he flips through. He's like, crossblades. Here we are. Let's see. A powerful adventuring guild, founded some couple hundred of years ago. Let's see. Started shortly after the surface kingdom known as the Arwellan Empire left the landmass known as Viderheim. Gained prominence due to slaying a powerful wizard. And eventually, most recent entry says that they had ceased to be some 70 years ago after a fight with pirates, it appears.
Yep, that
Sounds about right.
mostly tracks.
Yeah, we're still here.
Any records of that battle by chance?
Oh, yes. Let me see here. He flips to the book. Okay. Let's see here.
One Eye, yeah.
Yeah, Dragon Eye was, I believe, the gentleman's name. My understanding was he was some sort of a sorcerer, had put together a grand alliance of pirates, known as the Free Sailors Alliance, and attacked the capital of Viderheim, known as Vaxval. I'm not sure if you've ever been there. Um,
Or
the
familiar.
Eventually, according to the historical records, the sorcerer slew the members of the Crossblades, putting an end to their guild, before eventually being killed by a paladin group known as the Order of the Tower.
Gee,
Interesting.
it's like we don't exist, Graham.
I've had that dream. I mean, well, thank you kindly.
And let's see here. And yes, this is the battle was about 60 years ago.
That all lines up.
It's an interesting group.
Yeah, I'm sure Carter Well would just love that. Everybody's were gone.
But what interests you about their history, by the by?
Oh, well, as it happens, they weren't completely wiped out. They fell out of prominence for quite some time and relatively recently have been starting to build back up. And we're doing some history finding about them. They've got some disagreements about how that battle went. Sure you understand.
I'm sure, but I can't imagine members of the Crossblades were historians in any way, shape, or form. So I imagine their investigation, which they've contracted out to, it seems. Um, I'm glad, though, a neutral party for investigating their history. Gives a bit more of a step away from a close personal look.
Sometimes a little perspective's all you need.
Exactly. Did you have any other questions while you're here?
I think we're good for now, but we might be back. Thank you again.
Quite welcome. But yep, you know where to find me. Unless I'm out about doing some historical research. In which case you don't.
Actually, there's a thought. If the attack came from below, what's beneath the palace other than the floor they got through?
Okay, so that's an interesting piece of information. So the Coral Kingdom was divided. You had the Merfolk, the Triton, Water Ganeshi, smaller amount. They had some friction with each other, with the Sea Elves eventually able to kind of mend the rift and form the unified Coral Kingdom. We had the Shogun, who refused to join, as well as Marrow, who moved in to the area from some further location that we haven't been yet able to ascertain. The Shogun and Marrow have formed an alliance and have been attempting to drive us out from the Coral Kingdom. For whatever reason, possibly due to some sort of religious nature or desire to expand. Shogun do have a tendency to be a little more aggressive just due to the civilization that they are in. Down below in the deep, it is very dark, very dangerous. A number of large creatures that prove to be extremely dangerous. Uh, and unfortunately, bad blood over the very centuries has made it so that inviting in the Shogun and the Marrow to be within the kingdom itself has proven rather difficult. Imagine one day eventually there will be some peace, but for the time being, especially with the latest attack, that is unlikely to come.
Yeah, pretty bold move trying to up and off your leader, and that plan had to be a long time in coming.
Well, we certainly have never seen them have a giant crab before, but from what some of our scavengers and scouts who ventured out into the deep say, that they apparently are utilizing some sort of new magic, uh, and a new kind of religious cult has taken over the Shogun, who are beginning to use some sort of new kind of magical rituals. Seems they bound the crab to their will, as the crabs, while they do get that large farther in the deep, are typically not aggressive unless provoked.
Hmm.
We believe that there may be a new leader among them that the cult is worshipping that is beginning to lead the attacks.
Any idea what kind of magic school they're using?
Ooh, I'm not a magician or arcanist, so unfortunately I could not say for sure. But there's a number of different spells that could be used to bind creatures to your will. Um, Let me take a look, and he kind of like goes to the shelf and he begins kind of looking through more books, and he is trying to pull a few of them out. And here we are. Yes, I believe it is enchantment would be the most likely culprit.
Makes sense. Hmm. What
I
about
was gonna say anything about their new religion.
Unfortunately, that's a little too new. Although some of the artifacts that have been recovered from Shogun who have attacked do indicate it's relatively old.
they found an old faith? That sounds appropriate.
Down below in the deep, there's many, many different things. It's so dark that most of us don't ever venture down there, especially because of how dangerous things are there below.
Can we
Do you
find
know
out what
how?
religion when they interrogate the one we captured? Like a name of like what they worship.
You have not found out any information about that yet.
Okay,
Definitely something we should check up on. Um,
I'm helping.
do you know anything about their dealings, the Marrow and what have you, with others outside of hostilities with you?
Marrow are primarily mercenaries. They act on behalf of others. The Shogun Marrow alliance is less of your traditional alliance and more being provided by wealth that is recovered from sunken ships, as well as some source of monetary value that they've been able to uncover recently.
Have they ever worked with anybody topside against you?
Against us, no. As for working topside, generally they would only act as raiders for shipping lanes, uh, but they've been more active in areas outside of here. Um, Probably closer to Arwell or the different isles where the princes reign, where more shipping travels through.
How about, are you familiar with the country, the Zadorans?
Yes, Zadora is a former colony of Arwell. After their kingdom collapsed, they formed their own separate kingdom and are attempting to reclaim lost lands that used to belong to Arwell.
That all tracks. The Arwen Empire never operated underwater, did they?
No, I imagine maybe they would eventually try, but for the most part, they found water breathing to be less practical.
Understandable. Hmm. You know anything about those swords that we were talking about in the paintings?
Or beyond them being extremely fancy, I imagine they were magical in some nature, but the actual details about them are limited to me, unfortunately.
No problem at all. Thank you. All right. I'm tapped. I guess we should go talk to the sea elves.
Okay, you want to
I helped,
leave to talk to the sea elves?
yeah, I helped as much as I could.
Okay,
It's a team effort.
all right. As you make your way
Into a
to
muted mic.
Yeah,
Yep.
as you make your
Sorry.
way to the undersea tower where you first met the sea elves, more light shines through. The area is more bright, and you're able to see the sea elves kind of swimming along. Most of them, you see them kind of playing a game where they just take like a dulled tip spear and they're kind of like throwing it through hoops that they've set up.
Cool.
When one of them sees you, he kind of swims over. Ah, greetings. Hey, word's gotten up to us that you saved the queen there. Good job.
Thank you.
So,
We're
Yeah, we're heroes.
you certainly are.
we
I'm quite
dabble.
glad you came this way when you did. We've been
Yeah,
keeping
we're
an eye on
trying
your
to.
ship. Your crew seems a bit bored, but for the most part, they're okay.
They'll get paid. We can drop in on them. Let them know we haven't forgotten about them. Actually, yeah, we should probably let them know we'll be down here for a minute. One more thing to add to the list of things to do.
Well, we can send word up to them. Mostly, we try to relieve boredom one way or another, and trading stories is a good way to do that.
I hear that.
So it
But
sounds like
hey,
you're not returning to your ship then.
Yeah.
not just yet. But hey, speaking of sharing stories, can you tell us if you've had any business with Zadorans lately?
No, not as far as I'm aware. Zadora's on the other side of the planet, so they're very far away. We see Zadoran traders once in a while, and from some of the information we got from passing ships, there does seem to be some heavier Zadoran presence, but it looks more like a war fleet rather than any sort of traders, so they haven't been our way.
Small favors. How
Plus,
about
yes.
anything else surface wise that's been going on lately? Usual, unusual?
Uh, my understanding, pirates are more bold these days, which is bad for us because we kind of use trade ships. Come pirates typically are more about stealing rather than they are about trading. So, unfortunately, when pirates are about, when the Zorn Navy is about, we are doing far less trading than we typically would. So, as you can see, we've been a little bit bored as of late.
Hmm. You happen to know anything about those paintings down below? The one in the museum that matches the one in the palace?
Yeah, one of my distant ancestors uh, brought the painting when they fled the cataclysm. It was painted by one of the royal painters, and it had been entrusted to my ancestor by said painter, who had been injured during the cataclysm and was concerned he wouldn't be able to actually continue on, so wanted some of his work to live on. The painting itself depicts the Elven King. Never met him, as he disappeared far before I was born.
What can you tell us about your people's history around those paintings?
Not much, unfortunately. After the cataclysm, things went a little crazy for quite a while. By the time we actually settled into the Coral Kingdoms, most elves did their best to forget about what happened. So, unfortunately, the typical stories that would pass down were broken there then, so mostly just fleeting details.
Hmm. You know anything about those magic swords?
Well, they look fancy, that's for sure. From what I
Reminds me of
remember, they do
They have a
have
name?
some connection to the kind of astrological studies that the Elven kingdoms enjoyed. You'll notice like the constellation pattern upon the blade itself.
Yeah.
Striking, huh? Unfortunately, about the sword itself, I couldn't say. But
How about any of the figures of myth that are in there, the King's Guard and all that?
oh yes, so that one actually did pass down. So the Teldrin were apparently the battle mages of the king. They acted as his bodyguards, his agents, his advisors. Their actual exile, the precise reason why they are exiled apparently is due to some disagreement they had with the king, who magically exiled them. And shortly before the cataclysm is what I hear. Shortly in an elven time frame, so a couple of years.
Hmm. Note that. Any info on where we could find out more about that, or was that kind of lost and forgotten on purpose as well?
Uh, Forgotten on purpose is a bit of a tougher way to say, but there are ruins around. Some historical records have been found. That being said, that's more surface side. I gotta say, we only really came here to the sea due to convenience rather than choice. Most elves you're going to meet on the surface are descended from survivors of the Elven Kingdom. From what I understand to be the outlying colonies. So their knowledge of what happened is a bit more scattered than even ours.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But if you can find somebody who is an expert in that history, they probably could tell you.
Anyone you could think of?
From what I understand, the university, there's two on the close landmass Viderheim, one in Vaxval, one in Talva, that apparently have a good amount of information.
All right, all right. Hmm. I suck at this.
Yeah, I'm kind of stumped right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm like barely paying attention to. I'm doing like three things for Robbie right now.
No, no
Oh
worries.
God, I'm sorry.
No, I think you're
It's okay.
pursuing this.
Such is life.
It's just that you're finding people who have limited information, but especially because it's so long ago. But
Well,
I think you're kind of on the right track.
I think we just need to start torturing people.
Interesting. Interesting.
Adventures.
We can try it.
Also,
You could
have you
waterboard them.
ever played Harvester? Because whenever we ask about the swords, and the first answer is always, "They're fancy, huh?" It reminds me of the well, you were always a kidder. Uh, hmm.
So we've asked about the swords to a historian and who else? The
He's
title people?
basically a trade official.
Okay. Is there anyone that do they have any kind of like I don't know someone who does blacksmithing or is more versed in weaponry that might be able to give us information on the sword?
You'd have to go find that person. Um, because you won't need a roll for this. The swords are magic, obviously, so you would need to find some sort of an artificer who would have the information about creation process or anything like that.
Oh dear. Oh dear. The Stones don't have a freaking artificer's like workshop down here too, and we don't know yet.
You haven't seen one.
We find their stores. They give us the everything at cost because we saved the queen, and then we start trying to get a deal out of them anyway.
Well, Kaido's not here, so I don't think that's going to be attempted. But
No, we got to come back, right? Do you know anything about the constellations in those paintings, or just that they tapped into the stars somehow for those swords?
They tapped into the stars somehow, utilizing some sort of astrological magic. That information is far beyond anything I deal with. As it turns out, merfolk don't look at the stars too often. Go figure, huh?
Strange that. What about those dragons in the painting?
Yes. So, from the stories, I do know uh, the Teldrin were dragon riders, so after being specially hand selected by the king, they would hatch dragon eggs and would then raise the dragons, forming a bond with them. So the dragon is, dragons are intelligent. A lot of people don't know that, but it's true. And so instead of being an animal that would be ridden, it was more like a partnership.
Hmm. Those track. Do you know anything about that red dragon that was in the painting?
No, unfortunately, I don't.
One more dumb question for you. This one's an easy layup. I guess they have basketball in Viderheim. What's what is the Elven word for king? The one that was the that king's name.
He describes the elven word for king, which I haven't decided what that word could be, but it is in fact the elven word for king. Although the way he pronounces it has a slight accent to it.
Mhm.
Um, for real world, it would be something akin to like Caesar or Kaiser.
Makes sense. Got a bit of a harebrained theory growing, but too early to commit to it. Uh, how if surface dwellers were working with the marrow, would they be able to get in contact in a way you guys wouldn't be able to find, or how far out would they have to go to evade being detected?
Well, we have patrols around the city. We don't have walls, as one could simply swim over them. So if they can avoid the patrols, then they could get down there. And the patrols, well, before the attack had been somewhat lax. We hadn't had any real trouble with the Shogun or the Marrows for quite some time. I imagine it'd be relatively easy, especially as the surface dwellers. I mean, once you get farther down below where there's less light, it'd be far harder to see.
Yeah.
And if they had magic of some nature, it'd probably be even easier.
I don't suppose you guys keep track on the comings and goings of surface ships, even if they're not here to trade.
We make notes of them. And anybody who visits the kingdom, like yourself, would have to stop by and pay homage to the queen.
Thinking about the Zadorans on this one, the aside from, or I guess maybe including that big war fleet, do you have any records of their comings and goings within sight?
Uh, Most of the information's old. Zadoran trade ships would come every once in a while. Um, they had a number of different things that they enjoyed trading. Most of what they were known for: silks, spices, weapons, just didn't have much practical use down here. Majority of the weapons would be steel and would suffer rust. Um, some were specially treated so that they wouldn't be affected by water, but for the most part, Zadoran ships traded not too much that we cared about.
Hmm. How about just being sighted in the area? Do you have any records of that?
Um, Last Zadoran trade ship was here some 6, 7 months ago.
Hmm.
Of course, that's only here to trade. if they were on a different route, we wouldn't have seen them. Most of them head to Viderheim and Vaxfall, where silks and silks and spices tend to do a little bit better.
Yeah. 6 or 7 months might be a good time frame for that underground attack to get set up.
They've certainly been working on it for some time.
Yeah, not to point fingers, but we got some suspicions about that.
And the other thing is maybe a tunneling worm, but
You have any patrol folk who've reported seeing anything weird?
well, that one I'm not sure about. I simply deal with trade. I'm sure members of the guard might know.
Anybody up here we could talk to about that?
Probably at the palace.
Dang it. All right. So, if we wanted to pursue the Elven history angle, we would have to check with some of the scholars in one of the magic schools. Um, Guards, if we wanted to ask about if they've run into anything weird on patrols recently. Uh, hmm.
Oh yeah, Fiffle, can you give me a perception check, please?
Yes.
Perceive.
Yeah, Fiffle, it takes you a while to notice, but you do eventually see that some graffiti that has been kind of carved into the tower is not just standard graffiti, but is actually thieves' cant.
Really?
Mhm.
That's
They're
interesting.
everywhere.
Whipple takes a note of that, but doesn't say anything. What does the thieves can't seem to indicate?
It actually
Is it
indicates that there is a fence below in the Coral Kingdom for anybody visiting who would be able to assist with doing trade of the illicit variety for surface dwellers and undersea dwellers.
interesting?
And it gives a vague idea of where to look within the actual Coral Kingdom, and it just says look for the sign, which to you would indicate also thieves' camp.
Okay. I suppose I could try to find out if this item's been fenced, or I could steal some stuff and sell it.
They might have dealt with our banditos because they might have had an inside man or two, or just illegally dealt them stuff that would help.
Okay.
Not that Graham knows this. This is out of character.
Well, I'm gonna need some stuff to fence. Otherwise, they'll get suspicious and murder me.
You can't just show up without something to sell.
Exactly. Uh, Piffle looks around for someone to rob.
Oh God.
Well, there's a number of sea elves. They are trade officials, so they are well dressed. Give me a perception check
Uh-oh.
or an investigation if you want to give it a little bit more. Well, my goodness. It just seems like they probably locked up the majority of the money.
Damn. Sea elves. Piffle's like, all right, I gotta go, guys. I have an errand to run.
How suspicious does that sound to us?
Piffle winks really vaguely.
Is this the kind of errand where we stop getting the hero's welcome and start getting chased out with the underwater equivalent of torches and pitchforks?
What? They probably don't have those.
Can I? No,
Tridents and
Can I insight his errands and then just like shrug it off after?
I mean, you may if you'd like.
I will.
Does Fiffle attempt to deceive Otto in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Otto, I mean, you have a vague idea of what Fiffle may be up to.
you.
Otto gets a headache and just shakes his head and pretends he didn't even hear that.
Just remember plausible deniability.
I was dead at the time.
Biffle says under his breath as he slips out the door.
You want like a buddy?
No, where I'm going. Uh,
I think this is a mission. This is a solid Snake Metal Gear type, under a cardboard box type of mission, Graham.
All right. How do we get back in touch with you if shit hits the fan?
I will meet you. Uh,
I'm just gonna say, please
Back
You
here.
don't.
robbing somebody yet, Jeremy?
I'm working on it.
All right.
The elves,
Please don't.
real,
Yeah,
real,
rob
real
some
tight
fucking
wad.
elves.
Please don't take Hank.
Yeah, definitely take Hank.
Oh God.
Did we leave Hank on board?
Hank's been with you.
Hey, Hank,
What
how
do you want,
stealthy can
Fiffle?
you be?
Yeah, I can come with you. What do you want?
Is it how stealthy can you be, Hank?
I can transform into stuff, so kind of pretty stealthy.
All right. Well,
Does he believe himself?
He does.
Can I insight
We'll
that?
see if the
Can I
mimic
insight
has
his,
depression.
can I insight his own confidence?
Sure, go ahead. He's pretty confident.
I believe
Whether
you, Hank.
Yeah.
Transform into something really quiet. And up on
I
my
can
back.
transform into bags and or crates of various nature.
Yeah, like a really quiet bag.
Okay.
We need you to hang on to some stuff.
You're carrying around a silencer.
He turns into a fanny pack.
Okay.
Please no cursed items. That's what Otto just like
Pickle
says to
dons
himself.
the carnivorous fanny pack and heads out.
The carnivorous fanny pack. That is absolutely his title if you get him in the Thieves Guild.
You know, Fiffle, take an inspiration for that carnivorous fanny pack. That's funny.
Gotta start a band now.
You're a carnivorous fanny pack. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Where are we going, Fiffle?
I'm not sure yet, Hank,
Okay.
but I'll know when I see it.
Hey, did you know I can breathe underwater?
Did you know I can breathe underwater?
I assume it was a
At
spell
least for
put
the
on
next
you.
day, you can.
Because I didn't. Piffle walks down the equivalent of the road
Okay.
looking for a shop
Make
or something like a bank or maybe even a post office.
Yeah. Give me an investigation check or a perception check, depending on how you want to look for it.
Piffle opens his senses,
Okay.
breathes in the urban water. So,
Third eye chakra.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, Fiffle, looking around, you're able to find that there's a kind of undersea market area, and it includes somebody who does, in fact, deal with coins.
Get out.
Yeah, you can see that it's not a traditional bank, as it is more of like a kind of open stall that has been assembled through coral and seaweed, and kind of placed around, and as a kind of coral cage. And you can see that the merfolk who are working there are dealing with gold coins that cannot, go underwater and don't have to worry about rusting.
anybody dealing with jewels?
There's a few jewels there, yes. You see some small diamonds, rubies, couple emeralds and sapphires.
Come on,
All right, I'm going to go up to them and
Georgie. Let's go.
tell them I'd like to convert some gold into gems.
Ah, yes. How much would you like to convert?
Hold on. I like broke these days a little bit. 20 gold.
Ah, yes. And of course, there's a fee on top of that. So we will give you 20 gold's worth of gems in exchange for 22 gold.
Interesting. That seems fair. A 10% commission. Okay, now as we're talking, I want to kind of examine them and how they're where they're getting stuff from, where they're putting stuff away to. Um,
Yep. Looking, it looks as if they are pulling from a locked chest. One that is metal. Looks to be brass in nature and doesn't suffer from rust, although you can see that it is getting some kind of barnacle coverage on it. And they are using a strange lock that looks like it's designed to operate underwater without trouble.
are they using a key or a combination or something to open it?
Utilizes a key.
Uh,
And the key is on a chain around the person you're speaking to's neck.
okay. I'm going to go ahead and hand over 22 gold.
Okay. And would
And
you prefer any specific kind of gems or just a selection?
a selection is good.
He hands over uh, an emerald, a diamond, a ruby, and a sapphire, each of them worth about 5 gold.
Now, did he go into his chest to get those?
He did, yes. And he also took your 22 gold and put it in the chest as well.
Okay, so I was hoping to, as he is going to go do that, distract him somehow.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hey, Fiffle. Fiffle.
What's that, Hank?
You want me to distract him? You want me to?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. So here's the plan, Fiffle.
Yeah.
Okay, so I swiped this diamond when he wasn't looking, and he kind of reaches in, he pulls out a diamond that's worth about 20 gold.
Uh,
Because I did a hidden GM roll and rolled really well for Hank.
Oh, Hank.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna drop it on the ground, and then when he's distracted, cut him, you slit his throat, right? And then you go and you get into where you what? What are you trying to do exactly?
well, I was gonna steal the key to the chest from him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I whispered to Hank.
Okay, so we just drop this diamond on the ground, and when he goes and he gets it, you cut his throat and you take the key and you unlock or lock something, depending on what you want to do. Right?
Not exactly.
Okay.
You know what, Hank?
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna cut anybody's throat today.
Okay. Coward.
Fair point.
Your
Well,
Honor,
really-
no balls to me. I had to kill him.
We're gonna leave before anybody dies.
Nobody calls me a chicken.
Piffle at this point chickens out because he's pretty sure if he pushes it further, someone's gonna lose a hand or
Are you
two.
at least going to get your exchange taken care of, or did you already do that?
Well, I got some gems, and
Okay.
also so did Hank. So I think that worked out just fine. I got my 20 gold back in the form of this diamond that Hank stole.
Here you go, Fiffle. It's your good luck charm.
I'm gonna keep that. Yeah. Thanks, Hank.
You're welcome.
Um, I will. I'll pay you in hands. Add that one to my tab.
Oh, it's already on there, Van.
All right. So now I'm gonna go meet the fence
Okay.
and maybe try to get Hank a hand.
Kill the fence. Take his hand.
Well, I bet a fence would know somebody who, you know,
A cadaver dealer.
they would like, somebody's maybe lose their hand.
I mean, does
Maybe somebody
Hank
owes
need
him
a
money or
live
something.
hand, or can you just have a dead hand?
I think he prefers a live hand. Anyway, um, so yeah, I'm gonna go find the fence, and in the process of fencing some gems that I totally stole or whatever, um, I will yeah,
Okay.
talk to him about that. Ask him about thievery of art.
Okay. We
Um, Actually, Piffle's gonna check back in with the party first and just be like, I have another errand to run. Uh, with Hank.
yeah.
So
Wait.
don't worry about me, guys. But before I go, um, this painting we're trying to find.
Graham will deliver all the relevant questions and information to Fiffle to try to ask the fence.
Hey,
All right.
Fiffle, should we bring some muscle?
No, you're the muscle, Hank.
All right. He like takes his pseudopod and he like forms a muscle with it.
There you go.
Ugh.
All right. Let's go.
You're the muscle and the brains, Hank.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm sort of like a pack animal.
I mean, you are carrying me around, so I guess it makes sense.
Graham just kind
All
of
right.
watches them go, we're going to die, aren't we?
Is there a roll that you can just roll to see like an intuition and like how badly this is gonna go?
Wisdom. It's fine. It's gonna go great.
Piffle follows the signs of the underwater thieves.
Okay. Yeah. It is where it says. The thieves' cant you can see is both in the surface variety, and you can see that it has some kind of a underwater equivalent that is not that difficult to puzzle out for you. And you can see that it looks like it's above a small shop. This one's actually enclosed, and you can see that it has a kind of large shell as the door.
Well, that's charmingly underwater, oceanic. Uh, is there like a sign on the door or anything?
Yeah, it just says odds and ends.
Okay. I'll enter the odds and ends shop.
As you enter into the shop, you can see that there's a number of different little kind of knickknacks around on the shelf, on stands, and you can see in floating in the middle of the room is a merfolk. As he kind of turns and he hears you enter, you can see that he's blind. It's like, visitors, how may I help you?
Hello.
Greetings.
We are here to browse your odds, ends, and knickknacks.
Well, I have many. Just if you have any questions, let me know.
I have a question.
Yes.
He's blind. Are you blind?
Yes. Is that a problem?
No, no, no. Um, means you can't see the hand sign I'm making. Um, so instead, I will display the secret handshake. And so Piffle gives him the secret handshake.
Are you do you looking for a fence? You can just say it. No one's around.
It could be. Look, I try
I
staying
can't.
character,
I'm
all right?
blind.
Can the DM give himself inspiration?
All right.
Uh, uh, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a fence.
Yeah. Yep. You came to the right spot.
Okay. All right. So I I got some gems here. I
Oh,
got a diamond,
good.
got a ruby,
Okay.
got an emerald,
Uh huh.
got a sapphire.
Yeah. All right.
whatever some of you said were. And yeah, I need some gold, man.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of like brings out a small stone table and he just like puts it in the middle. I just go lay them out. I'm just gonna go take a feel over of them.
Okay. Piffle puts his newly acquired gems on the table, and
The
while the old man
he's like
probes
40.
while the old man probes the gems, he will engage him in polite, roguish conversation, and Piffle will mention that he has a client with very particular taste, a art collector.
Oh, really?
Yes, really,
What?
a collector of paintings of all sort,
Well,
and
we don't have a
pays
lot of
quite
paintings.
handsomely. Hmm?
We don't have a lot of paintings down here. Paintings don't do very well underwater. It's funny. You're the second surface dweller who's been asking about paintings as of late.
Well, I'm trying to source paintings for my client. He keeps them in, uh, dry rooms
Ah,
because I don't know. He's obsessed with surface stuff. I don't know why. He's weird, but rich.
yeah. Okay.
Nickel mentions again.
So you're looking for a painting, then,
I'm
or do
looking
you
at
wish to?
paintings, and I don't really care or have any scruples about the origins necessarily of these paintings. Just as long as I can turn them for a healthy profit.
I mean, I could certainly assist in that regard. What sort of paintings would you be interested in? We'd have to acquire them from a dry room, put them into a air bubble, and then move them from A to B.
You would, yes. Um, Now let's see. You mentioned another surface dweller asking about paintings. I wouldn't want a lot of competition for these acquisitions.
Oh yes, I did. He kind of holds out his hand.
Piffle's like, "Oh yes, of course," and hands him 5 gold.
Takes the gold, kind of like bites one, puts it away. Yes, so there were some surface dwellers here the other day. Um, they had a very odd accent. Kind of matches yours, which is how I knew they were from the surface. They had come in here complaining that they didn't have the proper tools and they needed some special lockpicks that could be used underwater. And then only a few hours later, I hear that there was a robbery at the art museum.
That is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Underwater lockpicks, you say?
Yes.
Do you got any more of those?
Yes, I do.
Interesting. What do those go for?
Uh, 5 gold.
Interesting. So they got the underwater lockpicks, and next thing you know, the art museum is getting robbed. You guys have an art museum down here? Seems
Yes.
like a good place to get paintings from.
Well, I mean, they primarily have sculptures and pottery, but there's was one very well made painting, is my understanding. Although I've
There's a
never had
lot
the
more.
chance to see it. It's a bit of a
What?
joke there, see?
Oh, right. Because you're blind.
Yes. Thank you.
Uh, Anybody ever tell you what the painting like looked like, or
Well, I've been blind since birth, so their description of it was completely meaningless to me.
Hmm. So you're saying you don't remember?
Well, no, not really. They described knights and dragons and swords.
Yeah.
I'm aware of what a sword is. I have vague knowledge of what a knight is.
Uh-huh.
I've had people describe dragons to me, but for the I know what an animal is.
Hmm.
I know it's large,
Yeah.
and I know what scales are.
Hmm.
But things like red don't really make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I can see that. Uh,
I can't.
my myself.
I was
Uh,
waiting for it.
it's true though, they're quite large. Sometimes.
Hmm.
Often they're much larger than me. Um, so yeah, I try to avoid them personally. Why are we on about dragons again?
Because you asked about the contents of the painting.
Oh, that sounds like a marvelous painting.
Well, I imagine it is, but it's stolen.
Yeah. Wonder why they stole it.
I mean, probably for that rich client you were mentioning.
Thought he was exclusive.
Apparently not.
So many problems.
And of course, they paid with some odd surface coinage, much as you did.
Odd coinage. Was it different than my coinage?
Feels different.
How so? Can you show it to me?
Sure. Just because we're friends. He kind of like goes behind a counter and he like runs his hands along and he pulls out a coin and he shows you this gold coin and make a history check. So you actually know about this. This actually is a coin that bears the face of the Arwellan Emperor Vixis III, who had minted a large number of coins that had been stolen by pirates about 100 years ago.
Interesting.
Bit of a, you know, kind of like a cool legend within the thieving community.
Pirate coin. Okay. So, did they say how long they were going to be in town?
Well, they did not. Um, but I mean, how many places can a surface dweller really go down here?
Surface.
I mean, they could go to the surface,
They could dwell there.
or they could go to one of the dry rooms. It's not like we have a tremendous amount here. There's the ones in the palace, although the odds of them getting somewhere in there are pretty limited.
Hmm.
Then there's the dry bar.
I want to take you to a dry bar, dry bar, dry bar.
In fact, the number of places the surface dweller can go in the city besides the palace are the dry bar with the dry rooms connected to it where they stay.
And that's about it, huh?
Not too many other places. Although they had some way to breathe underwater, or else they wouldn't be able to talk to me. But people who live on the surface, I've noticed, have a tendency to go to areas that are familiar to them. Sleeping underwater, they find disconcerting.
Sure do. Uh, well, that's amazing. You've been really helpful. But what do you give me for the gems?
Ah, yes, of course. So you have about 40 gold worth of gems here. Now, of course, I have a 10% commission. So I will take these gems and I can give you 36 gold for them.
Great.
And you know what? I already gave you that one, so he slides over 35 gold to you.
All right. Perfect.
He kind of scoops up the gems and he puts them in a bag and he like swims behind the counter. And did you want to get any of those lockpicks?
Oh yeah, that's right. I meant to have him throw those in. I would like a set of the lockpicks.
He pulls out these kind of odd looking lockpicks. Holds his hand. 5 gold, please.
Over.
And he hands over a set of lockpicks.
Okay. Good stuff. I will thank him for his time and dip.
Okay. Vivo, that was pretty good.
Yeah. I only spent 4 gold on the whole endeavor, or 5 or 10.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at math, but did okay on that.
You
Feel like we could have stolen more stuff, but it was in a public market, and I don't know. If that guy's hand disappeared and he started bleeding everywhere, people always start screaming when that happens. And anyway, moving on. So we'll go back and meet up with the gang,
you go back. You meet up with the gang.
and Piffle will just appear from the watery shadows.
Ah,
Hello, it's me, Piffle. Um, I've learned some things. Not many, really. I'm a slow learner. But I can tell you that our gang of thieving misfits, our art thieves, are I don't know, they're definitely surface dwellers like us, and they might be pirates. They use this strange coinage of the pirate horde of Invictus, or
Virix.
yeah, yeah.
Virixus. Hold on.
I got at least
Virixus the third.
some of those consonants right. Uh, I do it have an X in it and a V. Anyway, isn't that interesting? That uh, uh, we could probably track them down. There's not that many places to stay. Assuming they're still here.
Those are some really good leads.
yeah. Good,
Great information that you've acquired there through your delinquent behavior.
I try.
good to have friends in low places.
Absolutely. He's the man to get the job done.
Yeah. Hey, Hank.
Yeah. Well.
Good work.
Oh, thanks.
Nobody's dead, right?
Only because Fiffle's a fucking coward.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what? We take those. Good work, guys.
Did you steal something, Hank?
Uh, define steal something.
Okay.
Hank
Yeah.
didn't steal anything.
Did you find something that doesn't belong to you?
A lot of
Hank
stuff
just,
doesn't belong to me.
Hank just ensured a fair trade for all involved.
If you pick up a rock off the ground, that didn't belong to you.
By all, I mean me and Hank.
I'm
We're
assuming
not worried about being fair to
right?
anybody, but we
Try
were
and
very
find it.
fair in
I
trading
wish the insight
as
that they
far as
stole
ourselves
something.
went. So
Graham is willing to call this a win.
I mean, no one's dead, and no one knows we did anything. How often does that happen?
Can I actually like try to think about that?
Uh, sure.
What's that? An intelligence?
Yeah, go ahead. So what are you trying to think about exactly?
When's the last time that Hank and Fiffle went somewhere and something didn't actually bad happen?
Uh, I don't recall. So I would say you don't recall either.
I can't think of a time. Okay, I give up.
I mean, I don't think Hank and Fiffle hang out too often.
It's just always
In recent times, yes.
But anyway, we should go check all the dry rooms, probably sneakily, or I don't know if that'll work. Maybe not sneakily. Maybe we should barge into all of them yelling and waving our arms. But when we're done, I think Hank deserves to eat some guy's hands.
Yeah.
just imagining the awkward restaurant happy birthday party, but it's just a hand holding candles. All the staff come out and sing it.
You know what? If you can find them some hands, feed them some hands.
Well, once we find our art
I mean,
thieves,
he could at the very least get some cadaver hands
we'll just
for him.
we'll pass a
You
meteor
guys could be
around them.
making Hank very happy by just getting some fucking dead people hands and giving to him.
Hank,
Sure.
how do you
Eh,
feel about dead hands?
how dead? Like, when did they die?
Weeks
Does
ago.
that really matter, Hank?
I was thinking maybe like minutes after they died.
What about not decayed hands?
All right, but as long as it doesn't have a weird aftertaste.
Have you ever had pickled hands?
Oh, that sounds good.
Ooh,
Give me some of those.
We can work on
I
that.
was thinking maybe we could preserve hands for him and like make
yes.
artisanal gourmet hands.
Absolutely.
We're gonna work on that.
Yeah, sell them at Otto's bar. People love hands.
And maybe Hank will grow
You do.
like a
You love
goldfish.
that.
Oh God.
You feed him more hands.
I am a growing boy. Just wait till I get my growth spurt. Then you'll pay.
What?
We probably will. Let's not.
All right, I'm gonna take a nap now.
You ever think maybe you died on one of our adventures and you just don't know it yet? It's just a thing I think about sometimes.
Yeah, could be.
He can't get back to you. He's sleeping.
All right, let's check out wherever landwalkers would be down here. They said there was a bar, right?
Yep. And really, you've been told aren't a ton of places you can go in the Coral Kingdom that cater to surface dwellers. So there's only a very small number of actual dry rooms you can go to.
Well, if nothing else, they'll probably be able to tell us about clientele that I've been through. Let's go fact find all nicely.
Okay. You head to the one single dry bar in the city. And you can see that there's a couple dozen people there. Mostly it's actual members, citizens of the Coral Kingdom, primarily Tritons. But there are a couple surface dwellers around.
Can I insight them? Just kind of size up if they're looking shady or looking at us with suspicion.
Yeah, go ahead, give me an insight check.
19.
There actually is a group that kind of eyeballs you as you come up the moon pool. You can see that they're sitting in the far back at a corner, as much of a corner as you can get within a coral room. They appear to be water Ganeshi.
Keep an eye on those fellas.
And actually, give me a perception check. Now that you've spotted them.
Sure.
You don't really see anything too out of the ordinary.
All of us are
Well, Graham's the one who saw them.
okay.
But I
He
don't know if-
does. He does like quietly ask everybody to keep an eye out for them or on them.
if everybody is told that by Graham, yes, go ahead and give me.
Perceive the hell out of them,
Yeah.
or not.
Okay, well, it's not. Well, okay. Fern.
Nice. That's the one we needed.
Yeah, Fern, you're the one. You spot that the kind of water Ganeshi who is.
Oh, it's a performance.
I
Still
picked,
good
I
enough.
picked performance, but my
And the
perception
18
was
is still
18.
good. Yeah.
18. There you go.
He still rolled a 20. But yeah. Okay, so. I mean,
Listen, a
if
20
it was a.
I mean,
It's-
it was a
it
20
doesn't
plus
matter,
0.
right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's well deserved.
You're still able to see that as the kind of leader of them turns, he has a short sword kind of tucked into a sheath, and below it is an empty sheath.
Ooh. Think we got our culprit.
Well, I'm gonna point it out to everybody and be like, look, he's missing
All
one.
right. I think we should get ready to cause a ruckus.
And
We are good at that.
for a snack.
Yes.
You want to go?
Should we sneak up on
Somebody,
them
I think somebody should just start making just accusations.
walk up and accuse him?
Accuse him.
Tell you what, we'll go in front. You get a good vantage spot and get ready for the noise.
I mean, we have their knife, right? You could just be like, hey,
Hey, I
are
think
you
this is
missing
yours.
this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do it. Graham will
I'm gonna hide.
get up and provide cover for our sneakies to sneak while walking over to their table.
Okay.
Yeah, let me also stealth behind something because I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm good at stealthing,
And try.
except that.
You do not see Krug.
Yes.
Well, with a group stealth roll, as you and the three of you doing, more succeed than fail. So it all works
Okay,
out.
good enough. Yay.
Nice. So Graham and probably Otto will go up to the table.
Yes.
You
The
have the
Strong,
knife, right? I can
burly
just.
man.
Yeah, you see the man who's like the leader. He is a typical water Ganeshi. His skin is blue. Um, he has some tattoos on his arms and his neck that you can see are visible. You can see he's got a lazy eye. He kind
Do
of
these
watches you. Hello, can I
Hmm?
help you?
Graham is going to put that knife down on the table in front of him.
Ah, thank you. I had this stolen from me a few days ago. I always thought I didn't see it again.
insight that?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
that. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Otto.
First,
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on him. I mean, he says it very casually, so it sounds sort of like he's telling the truth.
I think he's full of shit, but I'm going to insight as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's hard to get a read on him.
Well, funny story. This was pretty sure this was planted in the museum custodian during that heist of that missing painting.
Well, that's unfortunate. I wouldn't want my knife here to go to anything unacceptable within the Coral Kingdoms here.
Why don't we just cut to the chase and you pick that up and we settle this?
All right, fine. He takes the knife, slides it into the sheath. I'm going to give you 300 gold to go away and leave me alone.
How about a counter proposal? You come quietly and you don't lose any brain cells.
And where would we be going to?
Well, I think you got some questions to answer for the merfolk downstairs.
How about I sweeten this deal in a way that I think you would appreciate?
Well, I'm listening.
I can see you're wearing the Crossblades necklace. My understanding is, and I'm purely talking theoretical here, Crossblades have been rumored to be after a certain pirate treasure that had been bequeathed to them by a dead pirate captain. This has rustled the jimmies of one pirate admiral. This pirate admiral is known to be a somewhat more controversial figure within the Free Sailors Alliance, having inspired a more cult-like devotion to himself that chafes against more traditional members of the Free Sailors Alliance. The traditional members don't like the more obsessive sort of behavior it inspires in others, and would like to return to a time that is more befitting of those members.
All right.
So purely theoretical. Perhaps some pirates have been dispatched by the admiral after being informed via magic by one of his more, let's say, devoted members to come and retrieve some treasure, or at least a clue to the treasure down here. Does this interest you? Would me providing you this 300 gold and some additional information be more lucrative to you than taking us to the guard?
Well, I would say yes, but you did kill an innocent man to pull this off.
This is purely theoretical, yes, of course. And
Purely
theoretically, the museum curator was supposed to not be there at the time, and accidents happen, unfortunately.
Hmm. Sorry, the guy wasn't a big enough dick for me to justify this to myself. Sorry, no.
Access happening to people's hands all the time too.
You drive a hard bargain, but we're dealing with life and death stakes as it is.
Look, brass tacks here, fellas. You seem like somewhat of a straight shooter.
I try.
Pirate Admiral, I don't like him. Things were better before he came up to picture. I don't like him. I don't like his sea witch. I don't like the way he's helping the Zadorans. I don't like the way he's helping the rebels. He's making things difficult for us. And I don't like whatever he's getting orders from to go and steal some stupid painting. Why are we stealing the painting? Yes, go ahead.
There were some nasty business down below that maybe the Marrow worked with the Pirate Admiral and his ilk on.
No, that one is not the Pirate Admiral's doing, although I'm sure he would love it. No, the Marrows are just a bunch of bastards.
Only met him the once, but didn't leave a good impression.
They tend to be rather rough, is my understanding. I will tell you this, though. I only met up with some of the Admiral's devoted members just a couple days ago after the painting theft. You see, I'd been sent here some week ago in order to secure it. I was meant to steal it, hide it away, and then when things calm down, sail it up to some distant land up north and deposit it there for someone, for some reason that has never been explained to me. And that's very strange, and I really, once again, don't like it.
Well, it'd be a crying shame if you got made and you had to flee without the painting, and they happen to find out where that drop point was.
Yes, actually, it would be a very crying shame that that occurred. It would be very poor if perhaps the crossblades were to stumble upon it by finding it in a section of the city where the coral is being grown for an expansion, specifically along a pathway cutting between Jellyfish Lane.
I don't like it, but given the stakes, in character, I'm going to insight him one last time on all this.
Go ahead.
I do think he's on the level.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You get the feeling now that you've kind of like laid it all quite literally on the table. He's on the level.
Okay. Out of character, since I don't want to make this call for the entire party.
How does he blame the murder? Is he just going to blame the murder on the Pirate Admiral's faction?
Yeah, he doesn't really seem to be taking responsibility for it.
Yeah, it's shitty, but given the stakes, I think this might be the it might be worth it to let him go. What do you guys think out of character?
I agree in character.
Yeah, I
He
think
doesn't
so
like
too.
it, but he does see the big picture here.
Let's let him go.
All right.
Let's let him go, but does he have any valuables laying around that I can see?
There is a chance for theft.
He's got his short swords, the two he put away, and he has mentioned that he has 300 gold on him.
Yeah, he's paying 300 and the location of the painting to just go make it disappear. Correct? I'm just trying to make sure I kept up with that.
So yeah, he told us where the drop point was, where they'll be doing the handoff. He doesn't know to whom or why or any of that. Just get this thing, bring it here. So he gave us that. He's giving us the bribe, and we turn a blind eye to them murdering the museum guy.
I guess I can be satisfied with the bribe.
All right, between you and me, I would reckon it's probably a good time to pick up sticks and move.
I
that the nest won't go unkicked while we're down there.
He takes out a leather pouch and he just kind of plops it on the table. He slides it over. When you leave, we'll be leaving, and you won't ever see us again.
Yep.
And if
Here's
you
hoping.
head further down to where the Stormhammer Pirate King went, and you kill the Admiral's devotees, well, more power to you.
All right. You have a nice day now.
Assuming
Stay out of trouble.
assuming long term that the admiral disappears, what happens with the Free Sailors Alliance? Who steps up? That doesn't happen again.
Oh, there's always a pirate admiral, but the pirate admiral is generally speaking just meant to kind of arrange for judgment over just disputes pirates might have. Actual real power, getting people to kill themselves for him, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Is
So if you're curious about the next pirate admiral, it's going to be some old, toothless, half senile pirate whose one job is to say, split the share evenly, and we'll all be happy.
thank you for your time. Graham will kind of relax a bit and back off with their information and bribe and let the guy go.
Okay.
I assume the group heads out.
I mean, do they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we one
Yep.
of us will
We
nod
come
to the
out from
door.
our hiding and exit.
The clown car of heavily armed fighters just depart, and the guy's like, "Oh,
You need a we need a clown horn for when we leave a location.
Operation Pagliacci."
All right.
I'll have to do something to make it right by the spirit of the slain, but there are bigger things at stake here than a pirate treasure at the end of all this. He's right that it ain't normal for people to be that devoted to a fucking pirate king. I guess we head back down.
You're heading to the spot where they stored the painting?
Yeah, at the drop off point, the pickup point, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just where they hid it so they could pick it up later when the heat died down.
Makes fits.
Well, it's right where he said it was. You head down to the location where you can see that there is coral being grown. One of the rooms there is mostly complete, and you find wrapped in a canvas is a large painting. The painting itself is 20 feet by 15 feet, so it's very large. And as you pull off the cover, you can see the faces of the exiled, the Teldren. And you actually recognize quite a few of them. You recognize Varos Varen, Hank's dad. You can see that he is accompanied with a blue dragon. He is in a fine set of armor, and he is wielding a sword that has constellations along the blade, although it's not Valor's Edge. You notice?
It's not, you said?
It is not, no.
Okay.
You notice Barbaros is in there. He is accompanied by a white dragon. He is also wearing armor and carrying a magic blade. You also, from the memories of the Singularity, recognize the elf Krexon, who is accompanied with a red dragon.
I knew it.
You notice that there is an elven woman. She is accompanied with a green dragon, well armored, and she has a blade that is identical to Valor's Edge. Otto, you would recognize one person. You've seen him in your dreams before. You've seen him mostly without his skin, but one time you saw him as he once was. You see the face of the flayed one.
In the actual painting, or is it one of the
It's
ones
in the
that you?
it's in the painting. He's one of the Teldren.
I'm just gonna point that out right there.
Graham goes to whip out his journal before remembering he's underwater. Hank,
You
take a memo.
you also notice one elf. Um, he is you don't recognize him, but you notice on his armor, he has a symbol of a candle.
Is that Brother Bones, Graham?
And then there are four unknown elves who are also accompanied with the dragons, wearing armor with magic swords. And I think this is a good place to end this as you are overviewing this painting.
That's
Yay.
my question to Graham as you end it. Is that Brother Bones, Graham?